The Kori bustard is the largest flying bird native to Africa. It is a member of the bustard family, which all belong to the order Gruiformes and are restricted in distribution to the Old World. It is one of the 4 species in the large-bodied Ardeotis genus. In fact, the male Kori bustard may be the heaviest living animal capable of flight. This species, like most bustards, is a ground-dwelling bird and an opportunistic omnivore. Male Kori bustards, which can be more than twice as heavy as the female, attempt to breed with as many females as possible and then take no part in the raising of the young. The nest is a shallow hollow in the earth, are often disguised by nearby obstructive objects such as trees. The specific epithet Kori is derived from the Swana, a name for this bird, Kori. Distribution. The Kori bustard is found throughout southern Africa, except in densely wooded areas. They are common in Botswana and Namibia, extending into southern Angola and marginally into southwestern Zambia. In Zimbabwe they are generally sparse but locally common, particularly on the Central Plateau. The distribution range extends along the Limpopo River Valley into southern Mozambique and the eastern low veld of South Africa. In South Africa they are also infrequent or rare in the Free State, Northwest and Northern Cape provinces, extending southwards into the interior of the Western and Eastern Cape provinces. Kori bustards are absent from the coastal lowlands along the south and east of South Africa and from high mountainous areas. This species is common in Tanzania at Ngorongoro National Park, Kitulo National Park and Serengeti National Park. A geographically disjunct population also occurs in the deserts and savanna of northeastern Africa. Here, the species ranges from extreme southeast South Sudan, North Somalia, Ethiopia through all of Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. Kenya may hold the largest population of Kori bustards of any country, and it can even border on abundant in the northeastern province. They are usually residential in the range, with some random, nomadic movement following rainfall. Habitat. This species occurs in open grassy areas, are often characterized by sandy soil, especially Kalahari sands, and short grass usually near the cover of isolated clumps of trees or bushes. It may be found in plains, arid plateaus, high veld grassland, arid scrub, lightly wooded savanna, open dry bushveld and semi-desert. Where this species occurs, annual rainfall is quite low at between 100 and 600 millimeters. Breeding habitat is savanna in areas with sparse grass cover and scattered trees and shrubs. When nesting they sometimes use hilly areas. They follow fires or herds of foraging ungulates in order to pick the various foods out of the short grasses. They may also be found in cultivated areas, especially wheat fields with a few scattered trees. This bustard is not found in well-wooded and forested areas due to the fact that it needs a lot of open space in which to take off. In arid grassland areas it is found along dry watercourses where patches of trees offer shade during the heat of the day. Description. The Kori bustard is cryptically colored, being mostly gray and brown, finely patterned with black and white coloring. The upper parts and neck are a vermiculated black and grayish-buff color. The ventral plumage is more boldly colored, with white, black and buff. The crest on its head is blackish in coloration, with less black on the female's crest. There is a white eye stripe above the eye. The chin, throat and neck are whitish with thin, fine black barring. A black collar at the base of the hind neck extends onto the sides of the breast. The feathers around the neck are loose, giving the appearance of a thicker neck than they really have. The belly is white and the tail has broad bands of brownish-gray and white coloration. The feathers contain light-sensitive porphyrins, which gives the feathers a pinkish tinge at the base, especially noticeable when the feathers are shed suddenly. The head is large and the legs are relatively long. The eye is pale yellow, while the bill is light greenish horn-colored, relatively long, straight and rather flattened at the base. The legs are yellowish. The feet have 3 forward-facing toes. Females are similar in plumage but are much smaller, measuring about 20 to 30% less in linear measurements and often weighing 2 to 3 times less than the male. The female is visibly thinner-legged and slimmer-necked. The juvenile is similar in appearance to the female, but is browner with more spotting on the mantle, with shorter crest and neck plumes. Male juveniles are larger than females and can be the same overall size as the adult male but tends to be less bulky with a thinner neck, shorter head crest, paler eyes and a darker mantle. 2 subspecies are currently recognized. Ardeotis Kori, the relatively pale nominate race from Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, southern Angola, South Africa and Mozambique. Ardeotis Kori struthiunculus, the Somali Kori, distributed in Ethiopia, Uganda, South Sudan, Kenya and Tanzania. The 2 races are separated by the Miombo woodlands of Central Africa. This race has a more boldly patterned head and slightly more black and white patterning on the wings. The 2 races are similar in size, though A.K. struthiunculus may be slightly larger. This may be a distinct species. Size. The male Kori bustard is 120 to 150 centimeters, stands 71 to 120 centimeters tall and may have a wingspan about 230 to 275 centimeters. Male birds may typically weigh between 7 and 18 kilograms. The average weight of adult males of the nominate race in Namibia was 11.3 kilograms, while A.K. struthiunculus males were found to average 10.9 kilograms. The larger accepted males can scale up to 16 to 19 kilograms and a few exceptional specimens may weigh up to at least 20 kilograms. Reports of outsized specimens weighing 23 kilograms, 34 kilograms, and even almost 40 kilograms have been reported, but none of these giant sizes have been verified and some may be from unreliable sources. Among bustards, only male great bustards achieve similarly high weights, making the male Kori and great not only the 2 largest bustards but also arguably the heaviest living flying animals. As a whole, other species, such as Dalmatian pelican, Andean condor and trumpeter swan, might weigh more on average between the sexes but are less sexually dimorphic in mass than the giant bustards. The female Kori bustard weighs an average of 4.8 to 6.1 kilograms, with a full range of 3 to 7 kilograms. Females of the nominate race in Namibia weighed a mean of 5.62 kilograms, while females from A.K. struthiunculus weighed a mean of 5.9 kilograms. Female length is from 80 to 120 centimeters and they usually stand 60 centimeters tall and have a wingspan of 177 to 220 centimeters. The standard measurements of the male include a wing chord of 69.5 to 83 centimeters. A tail measures from 35.8 to 44.7 centimeters, a culmen from 9.5 to 12.4 centimeters and a tarsus from 20 to 24.7 centimeters. Meanwhile, the female's standard measurements are a wing chord of 58.5 to 66.5 centimeters, a tail of 30.7 to 39.5 centimeters, a culmen from 7 to 10.4 centimeters and a tarsus from 16 to 19.5 centimeters. Body mass can vary considerably based upon rain conditions. Confucian species. The size and dark crest are generally diagnostic amongst the bustards found in the Kori bustards range. However, East Africa holds the greatest diversity of bustards anywhere, including some other quite large species, and these have the potential to cause confusion. Kori bustards are distinguished from Denham's bustard and Ludwig's bustard, both of which they sometimes forage with, by the greyer appearance and by the lack of a tawny red hind neck and upper mantle. In flight it can be distinguished from both of these somewhat smaller bustards by not displaying any white markings on the upper wing, which is uniformly grey here. Both Stanley's and Ludwig's bustards lack the Kori's dark crest, more similar to and nearly the same size as the Kori as the closely related Arabian bustard. However, the Arabian species has white-tipped wing covers, a browner back and very fine neck vermiculations, and also lacks the black base to the neck and the black in the wing covers as seen in the Kori. Behavior. Kori bustards spend most of their time on the ground, with up to 70% of their time being on foot, although they can forage occasionally in low bushes and trees. There is a lone report of a bird sighted in Kenya perched at the top of a tree. This bustard is a watchful and wary bird. The behavior varies, however, and they are usually very shy, running or crouching at the first sign of danger. At other times they can be completely fearless of humans. They have a hesitant, slow manner of walking, and when they detect an intruder they try to escape detection by moving off quietly with the head held at an unusual angle of between 45 degrees and 60 degrees. Being a large and heavy bird, it avoids flying if possible. When alarmed it will first run and, if pushed further, it will take to the air on the run with much effort, its wings making heavy wing beats. Once airborne it flies more easily with slow, measured wing beats, with the neck extended and the legs folded. It usually remains low and lands again within sight. When they land, Kori bustards keep the wings spread and only fold them when the bird has slowed down to a walking speed. Kori bustards have no preen gland, so to keep clean, they produce a powder down. Sunbathing and dust bathing are practiced. This bird has a loud, booming mating call which is often uttered just before dawn and can be heard from far away. Mostly residential, Kori bustards may engage in nomadic movements. These migratory movements are probably influenced by rainfall and there is no evidence suggesting any regular pattern. These local migrations take place at night but have not been mapped. In the Etosha National Park, these birds have been recorded moving up to 85 kilometers from open woodland to open grassland plains and returning again the following season. Trial satellite tagging of one male Kori bustard by the National Museums of Kenya demonstrated a migration along the Rift Valley between Tanzania and southeastern South Sudan. Additionally, adult and juvenile males move after the breeding season, whereas females do not appear to do so. Generally, the Kori bustard feeds during the morning and in the evening, spending the rest of the day standing still in any available shade. Voice less vocal than other bustards, the Kori bustard is generally silent but, when alarmed, both sexes emit a loud growling bark. This is described as a California California call, repeated several times for up to 10 minutes. This call carries long distances. This call is most often given by females with young and males during agnostic encounters. Chicks as young as 2 weeks will also emit this alarm call when startled. The male's mating call is a deep, resonant wum 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 or oom 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 wum 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 wum. This call ends with the bill snapping, which is only audible at close range. Outside of the breeding display, Kori bustards are often silent. A high alarm call, generally uttered by females, is sometimes heard. They may utter a deep VUM on takeoff. Sociality during the mating season. These birds are usually solitary but for the breeding pair. Otherwise they are somewhat gregarious, being found in groups often including 5 to 6 birds, but occasionally groups can number up to 40 individuals. Larger groups may be found around an abundant food source or at watering holes. In groups, birds are often fairly far apart from each other, are often around a distance of 100 meters. Interestingly, foraging groups are often single-sex. Such groups do not last long and often separate after a few days. These groups are believed advantageous both in that they may ensure safety in numbers against predation and may bring the bustards to prime food sources, feeding walking slowly and sedately. They forage by picking at the ground with the bills and are most active in the first and last hours of daylight. Kori bustards are quite omnivorous birds. Insects are an important food source, with common species such as locusts, grasshoppers, dung beetles and caterpillars being most often taken. They may follow large ungulates directly to catch insects flushed out by them or to pick through the dung for edible invertebrates. During outbreaks of locusts and caterpillars, Kori bustards are sometimes found feeding on them in numbers. Other insect prey can include bush crickets, termites, hymenopterans and solifuges. Scorpions and mollusks may be taken opportunistically as well. Small vertebrates may also be taken regularly, including lizards, chameleons, small snakes, small mammals and bird eggs and nestlings. They may occasionally eat carrion, especially from large animals killed in veldfires. Plant material is also an important food. Grasses and the seeds are perhaps the most prominent plant foods, but they may also eat seeds, berries, fruits, bulbs, flowers, wild melons and green leaves. This bustard is very partial to acacia gum. This liking has given rise to the Afrikaans common name gompauw, literally translated, gum peacock. They drink regularly when they can't access water, but they can be found as far as 40 kilometers from water sources. Unusually, they suck up rather than scoop up water. Breeding. Kori bustards' breeding season is different between the two subspecies. In general, A.K. struthiunculus breeds from December to August and A.K. Kori breeds from September to February. Breeding is closely tied with rainfall, and in drought years may be greatly reduced or not even occur. Kori bustards engage in lek mating. All bustards have polygynous breeding habits, in which one male displays to attract several females, and mates with them all. Males display at regularly used sites, each male utilizing several dispersed leks or display areas. These displays usually take place in the mornings and evenings. The courtship displays of the males are impressive and elaborate, successfully advertising the presence to potential mates. The males hold their heads backwards, with cheeks bulging, the crest is held erect, the bill open, and they inflate their gular pouches, forming a white throat balloon. During this display the esophagus inflates to as much as 4 times its normal size and resembles a balloon. They also puff out the frontal neck feathers, which are splayed upwards, showing the white underside. The white may be visible up to 1 kilometer away during display. The wings are drooped and the tails are raised upwards and forwards onto the backs like a turkey. The retrices being held vertically and their undertail covers fluffed out. They enhance the performance with an exaggerated bouncing gait. When displaying they stride about with the necks puffed out, the tail fanned and the wings planed and pointed downward. They also emit a low-pitched booming noise when the neck is at maximum inflation and snap the bills open and shut. Several males dispersed over a wide area gather to display, but usually one is dominant and the others do not display in his presence and move away. The displaying males are visited by the females, who presumably select the male with the most impressive display. Occasionally fights between males can be serious during the mating season when display areas are being contested, with the two competitors smashing into each other's bodies and stabbing each other with the bills. They may stare chest to chest, tails erect, bills locked, and push one another for up to 30 minutes. Following the display, the copulation begins with the female lying down next to the dominant displaying male. He stands over her for 5 to 10 minutes, stepping from side to side and pecking her head in a slow, deliberate fashion, tail and crest feathers raised. She recoils at each peck. He then lowers himself onto his tarsi and continues pecking her until he shuffles forward and mounts with wings spread. Copulation lasts seconds, after which both stand apart and ruffle the plumage. The female then sometimes barks and the male continues with his display. As with all bustards, the female makes no real nest. The female Kori bustard lays her eggs on the ground in a shallow, inlined hollow, rather than the typical scrape. This nest is usually located within 4 meters of a tree, a shrub, termite mound, or an outcrop of rocks. The hollow may measure 300 to 450 millimeters in diameter and be almost completely covered by the female when she's incubating. Due to the ground location, nests are often cryptic and difficult for a human to find, unless stumbled onto by chance. The same site is sometimes reused in successive years. The Kori bustard is a solitary nester and there is no evidence of territoriality amongst the females. Usually 2 eggs are laid, though seldom one of the third of may be laid. Clutch size is likely correlated to food supply. They are cryptically colored, with the ground color being dark buff, brown or olive in well-marked and blotched with shades of brown, gray and pale purple. Eggs are somewhat glossy or waxy and have a pitted-looking surface. Egg size is 81 to 86 mm in height and 58 to 61 mm width. The eggs weigh individually about 149 grams, with a range of 121 to 178 grams. The female, who alone does all the brooding behavior without male help, stays at the nest 98% of the time, rarely eating and never drinking. Occasionally she stretches her legs and raises her wings overhead. The female regularly turns the eggs with her bill. The female's plumage is drab and earth-colored, which makes her well camouflaged. She occasionally picks up pieces of vegetation and drops them on her back to render her camouflage more effective. If they need to feed briefly, the females go to and from the nest with a swift, silent, crouching walk. If approached, the incubating bird either slips unobtrusively from the nest or sits tight, only flying off at the last moment. The incubation period is 23 to 30 days, though is not known to exceed 25 days in wild specimens. The young are precocial and very well camouflaged. The lores are tawny, the crown tawny mottled black. A broad white supercilium bordered with black meets on the nape, extending down the center of the nape. The neck is white with irregular black stripes from behind the eye and from the base of the lower mandibles. The upper parts are tawny and black with 3 black lines running along the back. The underparts are whitish. When the chicks hatch, the mother brings them a steady stream of food. Most of it soft, so the chicks can eat it easily. Captive hatchlings weigh 78 to 116 grams on the first day but grow quickly. The precocial chicks are able to follow the mother around several hours after hatching. After a few weeks, the young actively forage closely with the mothers. They fledge at 4 to 5 weeks old, but are not self-assured flyers until 3 to 4 months. On average, around 67% of eggs successfully hatch and around 1 of the 2 young survive to adulthood. In Namibia and Tanzania, breeding success has been found to be greatly reduced during times of drought. Most young leave the mothers in the second year of life, but do not start breeding until they are fully mature at 3 to 4 years old in both sexes in studies conducted both of wild and captive bustards. The lifespan of wild Kori bustards is not known, but they may live to at least 26 or possibly 28 years old in captivity. Interspecies interactions. The Kori bustard is often found in areas with a large quantity of antelope and other game. In Tanzania, Kori bustards regularly attend blue wildebeest herds and feed on the small mammals and insects disturbed by them. Sometimes Kori bustards are found with southern carmine bee-eaters and northern carmine bee-eaters riding on the backs as they stride through the grass. The bee-eaters make the most of the walking perch by hawking insects from the bustard's back that are disturbed by the bustard's wandering. This is regularly seen in Chobe National Park, Botswana, but has only been reported once elsewhere. There is also one record of fork-tailed drongos perching on the backs in a similar manner. Kori bustards have been observed to behave aggressively to non-threatening animals at watering holes, as they may raise their crests, open the wings and peck aggressively. They have been seen acting aggressively towards red-crested corehorns, springbok, plains zebra and gemsbok. When kept in captivity, Kori bustards have been kept together with numerous other species in close quarters. 15 other bird species and 12 mammals have successfully cohabitated with them. However, the bustards sometimes injure or kill the young of everything from waterfowl to dik-diks and may be killed by larger species from ostriches to zebras. Being a large ground-dwelling bird species, the Kori bustard is vulnerable to many of Africa's myriad of formidable terrestrial predators: leopards, caracals, cheetahs, lions, spotted hyena, African rock pythons, jackals, Varro's eagle, martial eagles, and Varro's eagle owls are amongst the potential natural predators. Additionally, warthogs, tawny eagles, Cape eagle owls, mongooses and baboons may eat eggs, small chicks, and in the case of the tawny eagle and the Cape eagle owl, sometimes adults. When alarmed, Kori bustards make barking calls and bend forward and spread their tail and wings to appear larger. Adults will growl when the young are threatened by predators. Chicks tend to be the most vulnerable to predators by far. Many, despite their cryptic camouflage and the mother's defenses, are regularly picked off by jackals and leopards at night. Up to 82% of Kori bustard chicks die in the first year of life. When found with carmine bee-eaters, the smaller birds may incidentally provide some protection from predators due to the vigilance. The display of the adult male may make it more conspicuous to larger predators, such as hyenas or lions. A shock display may be performed when a bird is alarmed. While too large to be prey for most predatory birds, it is known that the martial eagle is a serious natural enemy even for adult bustards. In one documented attack by a martial eagle on an adult Kori bustard, both birds ended up wounded. The eagle with a bleeding leg from the bustard's counterattack, but the bustard more seriously injured, with a broken wing and several open wounds. Although it walked away, the injured bustard in the confrontation was found dead the next morning, being fed on by a jackal. Status: the Kori bustard is generally a somewhat scarce bird. Appendix 2 of CITES and the 2000 Comrade Data Book for Birds lists the status of the nominate race as vulnerable, estimating that in the next 3 generations, it is expected to decline by 10% in South Africa. In protected areas, they can be locally common. Viable populations exist in unprotected areas as well, but in these areas, the birds are hunted. They have been much reduced by hunting, having been traditionally snared in acacia gum baits and traps. Although no longer classified as game birds, they are still sometimes eaten. In Namibia, they are indicated as game as they are called the Christmas turkey, and in South Africa, the Kalahari Kentucky. Hunting of bustards is difficult to manage. The Kori bustard is now generally uncommon outside major protected areas. Habitat destruction is a major problem for the species, compounded by bush encroachment due to overgrazing by livestock in agricultural development. Poisons used to control locusts may also affect, and collisions with overhead power wires regularly claim Kori bustards. One 10-kilometer stretch of overhead power lines in the Karoo killed 22 Kori bustards during a 5-month period. Kori bustards tend to avoid areas used heavily by humans. Nonetheless, because it has such a large range in its rate of decline is thought to be relatively slow. The Kori bustard is not currently listed in a threatened category on the IUCN Red List. The species is prominent in many native African cultures, variously due to its imposing, impressive size. Spectacular displays by adult males of the cryptic nature of the nesting female. The Kori bustard features in dances and songs of the San people of Botswana, and paintings of these bustards feature in ancient San rock art. It was associated with royalty in Botswana since they reserved it for their own consumption, and since 2014 it is also the national bird of Botswana.